The alien vampire warrior thought she could defeat the human man, but she was wrong. Leon's day had started off relatively normal for an interstellar engineer. 2 protein bars, 1 lukewarm coffee pouch, and a short conversation with the ship's AI about the philosophical implications of socks in zero gravity. By midday, he was screaming through the upper atmosphere of a forbidden moon in a pod that had lost both its stabilizers and its sense of decency. Alarms blared in every language he didn't speak, and at least 3 in a dialect he was pretty sure was just screaming. Pilot protocol override unsuccessful. The ship's AI reported cheerfully as a panel blew off the left wall and vanished into the violet clouds. But on the plus side, your skin will look amazing under Virelian gravity radiation. You're welcome. I didn't ask for a makeover. I asked for not dying. Statistically, you only asked for one of those. The impact wasn't so much a crash as a series of aggressive landings. Trees groaned and snapped, soil hissed with strange heat, and Leon's pod finally settled halfway into the ground like a defeated marshmallow. He groaned, checked his limbs, intact if offended, and popped the emergency hatch, immediately regretting it. The air smelled like burning cinnamon and aggressive nostalgia. Outside, the jungle shimmered under 2 suns and a cracked sky. Plants shifted when he wasn't looking. A tree waved at him. He waved back. Okay, he muttered, stepping out with the grace of a tipsy deer. Stranded on a hostile moon with no ride, no signal, and probably a fungus in my socks. Classic Leon. A shadow darted across the clearing. He froze. Hello? He called, already regretting it. Look, if you're going to eat me, can we at least discuss seasoning options first? Nothing. He took a cautious step forward and the world flipped sideways. He didn't fall so much as glide against gravity's better judgment. The ground buckled beneath him, revealing a network of glowing lines that pulsed like veins. A low hum began in his teeth. Before he could swear properly, she appeared. At first, he thought it was a trick of light, a hallucination courtesy of blunt force trauma and overcooked rations. But then she stepped forward, tall, cloaked in something that shimmered between cloth and starlight, with violet skin that gleamed like stormlit dusk. Her eyes glowed, not with menace, but with a kind of ancient exasperation. Her ears, long and pointed, twitched. You shouldn't be here, she said, her voice somehow in his head and around it. Your kind was warned. Leon blinked. Yeah, well, my kind also ignores warning labels on coffee cups. Her head tilted. Are you damaged? He looked down at his torn suit, then back at her. Let's go with selectively broken. She stepped closer, eyes narrowing. You're the one from the wreck. And you're the tour guide? A flicker of amusement passed through her expression like lightning behind clouds. I am Zeyhara, last of the Guardians, slayer of the Twin Maw, bearer of the core memory. Leon raised a finger. Question, are any of those roles part-time? Asking for a friend. She didn't laugh, but her lips almost twitched. Almost. You will follow me, she said, turning without waiting. They've already scented you. Leon jogged after her, dodging glowing roots and what appeared to be a sentient bush offering unsolicited opinions. Wait, who's they? Is this like an intergalactic HOA thing? Zeyhara moved like a ghost through the jungle, silent and certain. Leon, on the other hand, moved like someone being chased by bees, with rocket boots and personal grudges. They entered a fissure in the ground that led to a cavern pulsing with blue light. Symbols swirled along the walls like ink in water. A central spire hovered in midair, humming gently. Zeyhara placed her hand against it. The structure responded with a low chime, and a holographic map bloomed from its center, spinning slowly. Leon stared. Okay, that's cool, and mildly terrifying, mostly cool. She pointed to a segment of the map glowing red. She said, The ship sleeps beneath. You are the key to waking it. He squinted. Me? Why is it always me? What happened to space destiny choosing people with military training and jawlines carved from steel? The ship responds to Earthborn patterns. You are the first to reach this place since its seal was made. Right, Leon said slowly. So I'm basically the space equivalent of the guy who jiggles the vending machine and accidentally wins a spaceship. Zeyhara blinked at him. Your words are strange. The map flickered. A sound echoed through the cavern, metal against stone. Heavy, rhythmic. Zeyhara's gaze sharpened. They've found us. Leon grabbed the only thing nearby that looked like a weapon, a piece of ancient debris that turned out to be a ceremonial spoon. It vibrated in his hand. Okay. I'm armed with cutlery and optimism. Let's do this." She looked at him for a moment longer than necessary. "You're either very brave," she said, "or very foolish. I prefer to think of it as chaotically resourceful." They fled down the corridor as the map sealed itself behind them, the spire sinking into the ground. Outside, the sky cracked with sound. Something massive moved through the trees, shadows too large to be beasts, too fast to be machines. Zeyhara whispered something under her breath. The trees bent away from them. Leon, gasping, glanced back. "You know, for a moon that's supposed to be dead, this place is awfully lively." She didn't answer. Instead, she stopped abruptly before a large stone structure half buried in vines. It pulsed faintly as she approached. "This is the gate to the lower sanctum," she said. "If we make it inside, we can lose them." Leon looked up at the monolith. "Please tell me it opens with a witty password, or at least a dramatic hand gesture." Zeyhara stepped forward, placed her palm to the stone, and began to sing. The melody was low, ancient, and resonated with the stone itself. Symbols flared to life, spinning faster and faster. Leon tried not to stare. "Okay, not gonna lie, singing doors? Kinda amazing, 10 out of 10. Would redecorate my apartment." The structure groaned, opened, and they slipped inside just as the trees behind them exploded into motion. Darkness swallowed them. The gate closed. Leon leaned against the nearest wall, panting. "So that went well." Zeyhara didn't respond. Her eyes glowed in the dark. "You understand nothing of what waits below," she said. "Story of my life," Leon muttered. "But I'm here now." She looked at him for a long moment, then finally, smiled. "Then may your luck be stronger than your jokes," Leon grinned back. "Unlikely. But hey, I've got excellent hair." The descent was not gentle. Zeyhara led the way with the calm precision of someone who had navigated catacombs before breakfast, while Leon stumbled behind her like a tourist on roller skates. The passage sloped downward in a series of angular turns, the walls pulsing faintly with bioluminescent script that flowed like ink in water. "So," Leon said, brushing dust off his shoulder as another ancient stare tried to trip him, "on a scale of 1 to, we're about to wake up something with too many teeth. How worried should I be?" Zeyhara glanced back. "If the glyphs begin to hum in E-scale minor, we run." "That's weirdly specific. Is there a playlist I should avoid triggering?" She said nothing, but the corners of her lips twitched again. That almost smile was becoming a pattern, like she couldn't quite figure out whether she found him amusing or just baffling. At the bottom of the corridor, the path opened into a chamber filled with layered platforms. Each platform rotated slowly on its axis, suspended in midair by what Leon could only describe as stubborn physics. In the center, an enormous console pulsed with slow, rhythmic light. Leon whistled. "Wow, you know, this puts my old engineering bay to shame. We had fluorescent bulbs and a coffee machine that only worked when you insulted it." Zeyhara knelt before the console and placed both hands on the control points. Light raced up her arms and into the surrounding walls. Above them, a hologram flickered to life, a translucent schematic of a vessel, vast and clawed, buried deep in the substrata of the moon. "That's the ship?" Leon asked. "Taraxis," she replied. "One of the last built before the seal. She was never awakened until now." He squinted at the projection. "Is that a tail fin or a weapons array shaped like a crescent wrench?" "Both." "Beautiful." Zeyhara's focus didn't waver, but her voice shifted subtly. "Taraxis has been in stasis since the fall of the last Accord. The energy signature began to pulse again 3 rotations ago. Then you came." Leon scratched his chin. "Right, so the ship's been on Do Not Disturb mode for a millennium, and then I show up like a surprise pizza delivery." "You're the anomaly," she said. "The system recognized something in you. Genetic resonance, neural frequency, earthborne contamination, perhaps." "Well, contamination is one of my specialties." Suddenly the light dimmed. The hologram faltered. Zeyhara's eyes narrowed. "Something is wrong." Leon pointed toward the glyphs lining the wall. Those weren't flickering before, right? Because one of them just spelled out error 438 existential dread. Zeyhara leapt to her feet just as the floor rumbled beneath them. A platform broke away and tumbled into a pit of dark mist. The glyphs along the ceiling pulsed red. "They're breaching the sanctum." Leon reached instinctively for the ceremonial spoon he'd tucked into his belt. It vibrated ominously, which seemed promising. "I assume you've got a plan for this." I do, Zeyhara said, already moving toward a secondary passage. Step 1. Don't. Step 2. Activate the failsafe before they reach the inner core. Step 3. Improvise. Step 4. Panic? If you must. The corridor beyond the chamber was narrower, with slanted walls and shifting gravity that forced Leon to adjust his center of balance every few steps. One moment he was upright, the next he was walking sideways along a wall, then back to normal. You know, he said, this place could use some handrails, and maybe a few emotionally supportive robots. A door opened ahead, revealing a circular chamber lined with stasis pods. Most were dark, their occupants long since decayed or gone, but one remained active, faint light glowing behind the glass. Zeyhara froze. Leon peered over her shoulder. Friend of yours? Rillian, she said quietly. He was, before, one of us. Leon stepped forward. The figure inside was barely visible, tall, armored, with long ears like Zeyhara's and a weapon clutched to his chest. Why is he still in there? He chose not to wake, said the war had already. Leon looked at her. So we just leave him? Zeyhara didn't respond right away. Then softly, we honor his choice. The chamber lit up in red. A high-pitched sound tore through the air, somewhere between a scream and a mechanical drill. The wall behind them cracked open, and something poured through. Not a creature, but a shape built of black angles and flickering static. It walked like a man, but left glitches in space behind every step. Zeyhara shoved Leon backward. Oathbound! Great, Leon said, backing toward a console. Do they respond to sarcasm, or just violence? The Oathbound raised a hand and the nearest glyph burst into blue flame. Zeyhara lunged. She moved faster than Leon could follow, blades of light extending from her forearms, a blur of motion and violet energy. The Oathbound met her strike with a pulse that shattered stone, but she held her ground. Leon slapped at the console behind him. Come on, give me something useful. Turrets, traps, I'd even take a well-timed motivational speech. The screen blinked to life with a single option. Engage Drone Unit 3. He hit it. A small sphere the size of a lunchbox shot from the ceiling and hovered beside him, blinking. Unit 3 online. What's your name, Dad? Leon blinked. Dad? I was pre-programmed with Ternal bonding subroutines. We're going to have a great relationship. I love you already. Go distract that glitchy guy before he skewers the nice lady with glowing swords. Affirmative. Let's traumatize some memories. The drone launched itself at the Oathbound, firing pulses of electromagnetic laughter. Yes, laughter. A sound that somehow weaponized the awkwardness of middle school talent shows. It worked. The Oathbound staggered. Zeyhara drove her blade through its midsection, and it shattered into shards of broken light. She turned to Leon, breathing hard. That was efficient. Thanks, he's patting the... We bond through chaos. They moved again, this time toward the sanctum's lower core, guided by the pulsing glyphs now shifting from red to purple. Behind them, more shapes moved in the shadows. Ahead, the starship's heart began to stir. Zeyhara glanced at him. You're adapting. Leon smiled. I always did work better under fire, and I've had worse first dates. She looked away, but this time she didn't hide the smile. The corridor narrowed until Leon had to duck beneath dangling strands of bioluminescent fiber that waved like underwater plants trying to shake hands. His drone, Unit 3, now self-renamed Captain Buzzkill, hovered close to his shoulder, whistling an off-key rendition of something suspiciously like elevator music. I feel like I'm walking into a fever dream designed by a computer with abandonment issues, Leon muttered. Correction, the drone chirped. You're walking into the neural resonance cradle primary interface hub of the Taraxis, also known in archaic Virellian as the room of oh no, not again. Zeyhara stopped at the threshold of a circular chamber where threads of light webbed from floor to ceiling, crisscrossing like a neural lattice. At the center, a dais rose from the floor, surrounded by rotating columns covered in symbols that glitched in and out of existence. This is where the ship bonds to its pilot, she said. Where the mind syncs with the vessel. Leon frowned. Sounds cozy. Should I be worried about brain melting? Memory loss? Sudden cravings for cosmic enlightenment? Yes, she said. He stepped back. Okay, hold up. That wasn't a joke question. Are those actual side effects? Zeyhara turned to him. The Taraxis is partially organic. It requires a mind that can adapt to alien logic, absorb fluid data streams, and withstand thought-based weaponry feedback. Leon blinked. And you're saying I'm that guy? I'm saying you're here. The ship agrees. He folded his arms. The ship's decision-making process feels suspiciously like a random number generator. Zeyhara stepped forward and touched the dice. A wave of energy pulsed outward, ruffling Leon's hair in a way that was both scientifically impressive and mildly disrespectful. "Stand here," she said, motioning to a spot next to her. Leon stepped onto the platform. "All right, but if I start glowing and speaking in tongues, someone better record it for my resume." The dice responded to his presence with a rising hum. The web of light narrowed around him, threading through his limbs and chest with feather-soft pressure. His mind felt like it had just been uploaded into a washing machine made of dreams. "Whoa," he said, swaying. "I just saw my third-grade math teacher riding a dragon made of receipts." Zeyhara nodded solemnly. "You're sinking." "Is that what we're calling it? Because I think I'm also reliving every awkward conversation I've ever had." A sharp tone rang out. The lattice of light locked into place. Above them, a projection bloomed. Stars, constellations, coordinates. The ship's awareness rippled through the chamber. "Taraxis online," a voice echoed, female, calm, with the accent of someone who read ancient poetry and judged people's posture. "Pilot compatibility confirmed. Earth genetic deviation detected. Curiosity, intriguing." Leon raised a hand. "Hi, nice to meet you. I hope this relationship comes with a mutual respect clause and a no mind control guarantee." "Accepted," the voice said. "Also, your neural humor centers are statistically hyperactive. Diagnostic recommends sarcasm mitigation." That's the nicest insult I've ever received from a spaceship. Suddenly, the ship's projection shifted to a red alert schematic. Multiple breach points, swarming signatures. Zeyhara stepped forward. "They've deployed shadow drifters." Leon looked at her. "That sounds like the name of a moody space rock band. Should I be more alarmed?" "They phase through physical matter and drain power from conscious systems." "Okay. Yep. That's worse than space. That's jazz fusion level terrifying." From behind them, the walls began to shimmer. A low, haunting sound like reversed whispers slithered through the air. Captain Buzzkill beeped and activated his defense mode, which appeared to involve pulsing dramatically and quoting inspirational slogans. "Your fear is not weakness," the drone said. "It's just your survival instincts cosplaying as common sense." A drifter phased through the wall, shifting, elongated, like a tear in visual logic. Leon tried to aim the ceremonial spoon, realized it was still a spoon, and threw it anyway. It passed harmlessly through the creature. "All right," he said, backing up. "That plan had holes, just like that monster." Zeyhara launched herself forward with a blur of motion, her blades humming with plasma light. She slashed through the drifter's core, disrupting its shape into flickering static. 3 more phased into the chamber. Leon pressed a hand to the dice. "Taraxis, please tell me you've got ship defenses. Maybe a phase disruptor? Consciousness dampeners? A giant interdimensional shoe?" "Activating cortical command interface," the ship said. "Warning, Earth cognitive structure lacks formal training. I once piloted a food delivery drone through a superstorm and a flock of feral parrots. I've got instincts. Acceptable." The chamber surged with force. Leon's mind stretched, not painfully, but like it was being handed more RAM than his soul knew how to use. Blue lines of code ran through his vision. His fingertips tingled with control. A hidden turret unfolded from the ceiling and blasted one drifter with a burst of ionized laughter. The others hissed. Leon grinned. "Taraxis fire humor cannon!" Deploying cognitive overwhelm pulse. The walls pulsed with a wave of absurdity. Images of cats in business suits, babies debating quantum physics. A surreal, synchronized interpretive dance involving traffic cones and a bagpipe. The drifters shrieked and dissipated. Zeyhara lowered her blades. "What was that?" "Weaponized internet culture," Leon said, panting. "Turns out my greatest weapon is being extremely online." The chamber stabilized. The threat receded. Taraxis dimmed to standby. "Core systems are now yours to command, Leon of Earth. Mission directive pending." Zeyhara turned to him, her face unreadable. "You bonded with a ship built by minds 1,000 generations beyond your own." "Hey," he said, "I also once figured out how to fix a food synthesizer using chewing gum and despair." She looked at him for a long moment. "I don't understand you." "I get that a lot. Still, we make a good team." She nodded then, very subtly, smirked. "We do." Captain Buzzkill buzzed with delight. "Parental unit and tall, scary warrior lady have achieved rapport. Initiating celebratory protocol. Don't you dare, Leon warned. It was too late. The drone began blasting triumphant synth fanfare and spinning in small, proud circles. Somewhere deep beneath them, the Taraxis stirred fully awake, and the stars shifted in response. Leon was getting used to the idea that his thoughts now had an access panel. Taraxis responded to him before he could finish a sentence, sometimes before he finished the thought. Like the time he briefly wondered what space pancakes would taste like, and was immediately bombarded with a list of synthetic starch simulations and 3 recipes optimized for zero-gravity syrup application. Zeyhara led him through the inner artery of the ship, past suspended conduits and time-dilated corridors. The vessel pulsed with a steady rhythm now, alive, alert, patient. "You're humming," she said suddenly. Leon blinked. "I am? Oh, sorry. It's an old Earth tune, Don't Stop Believin' by Journey. Inspirational but deeply ironic considering we're being hunted by interdimensional static ghosts." She gave him a sidelong glance. "It's strange. Taraxis doesn't reject your input? Is that your polite way of saying you have the brain of a malfunctioning toaster and yet here we are?" Something like that. They arrived at the central commandum, a twisting spiral of data strands rising through the core of the ship. It projected layers of star maps, weapon systems, environmental readouts, and one particularly persistent warning about unstable tectonic pressure beneath the Virellian surface. Leon squinted. "So the moon's about to explode. That's fun." "It's been destabilizing for years. The core was fractured in the last Accord War. The energy that powers Taraxis also holds this place together." Leon turned slowly. "You mean if we launch the ship, the moon collapses?" He nodded. "Okay, just checking that this keeps getting worse in scientifically improbable ways." Taraxis' voice chimed in, disturbingly cheerful. "Probability collapse is currently at 80.7%. Suggest evacuation within 2 standard rotations." "Great," Leon muttered. "We have 2 space days to stop the static monsters, learn to fly a sentient warship, and escape a moon that's literally eating itself. No pressure." Zeyhara walked to the map interface. "There's another complication. The shadow drifters were not created. They were bound." Leon tilted his head. "Like prison-bound?" "They were warriors, like me, but they surrendered their forms to the oath, fused with the ship's entropy to serve beyond death. They remember what they were." He stared at the blinking proximity markers. "And they're coming because they want Taraxis, or to destroy it, or to absorb it into the dying loop. It depends which one is in control." Leon folded his arms. "They sound like my old college roommates. Also, we should probably not let them have the sentient doomsday cruiser." "Agreed." A sudden tremor shook the deck. Lights flickered. Taraxis intoned. "Breach detected. Sublevel 13. Life signatures inconsistent. Estimated contact in 6 minutes." Zeyhara turned. "That's the auxiliary bay." Leon pointed toward the corridor. "Let's go. Captain Buzzkill, bring your sarcasm cannon." The drone beeped. "Charging puns." The trip to sublevel 13 was interrupted only once by a corridor full of upside-down gravity, which left Leon walking on the ceiling and Zeyhara unaffected. "How are you not fazed by this?" he asked. She shrugged. "My species learned long ago that gravity is just peer pressure from large objects." Leon fell off the ceiling. When they reached the bay, the breach had already begun. A jagged hole in the hull pulsed with black energy, and 3 figures stood inside. A trio of tall, flickering shapes wrapped in cloaks made a visual noise. Their faces shifted constantly, like channels trying to tune in to the right horror. Zeyhara stepped forward. "This place is protected." The lead figure responded with a voice like corrupted audio. "Zeyhara of the Broken Pact, the Taraxis will burn." Leon leaned over to the drone. "I think that's their version of hell," Captain Buzzkill whispered. "Shall I engage threat reduction humor?" "Give them the works." The drone projected a hologram of Leon wearing a party hat and blowing a kazoo. The kazoo sounded like a dog arguing with a vacuum cleaner. The static figures flinched. Leon raised both hands. "Hi, listen, I get that you're upset. You probably had plans, goals, possibly a calendar full of vengeance. But I'm not giving up the ship. I just figured out how to ask it for sandwiches." The static being surged forward. Zeyhara moved to intercept, blades igniting. Leon slammed a panel on the wall, activating a containment field. 2 of the intruders phased through it, but slower this time. "They're adapting," Zeyhara shouted. "Me too." Leon replied, yanking a control rod from the floor and flailing it like a lightsaber made of pipe dreams. Captain Buzzkill flew between the attackers, releasing bursts of disorienting images. One drifter hesitated upon witnessing an animation of a raccoon trying to do taxes. Zeyhara drove a blade through its core. Leon tried to swing his makeshift rod at the second one. It passed through, but Taraxis responded, energizing the conduit. The rod became a conductor. The creature shrieked and dispersed. "I have no idea what I just did," Leon said. "You created a plasma spike using pure luck and questionable technique." Taraxis replied, "That's kind of my thing." The remaining drifter retreated, melding back into the breach. The wall began sealing behind it. Zeyhara turned to Leon, her expression unreadable. "You fought. I wobbled aggressively and hoped for the best. You're becoming a warrior. Don't say that too loud. My inner engineer is already filing a complaint." Captain Buzzkill hovered between them. "Group hug protocol engaged?" "No," Zeyhara and Leon said in unison. The deck trembled again. Taraxis updated them with grim clarity. Structural integrity of Virellia reduced by 4%. Collapse projection accelerated. One standard rotation remains. Leon exhaled. "All right. Time to fly the ship, save the universe, and survive long enough to be smug about it." Zeyhara nodded. "Then we begin." They turned as one, the bonded warrior and the baffled Earth engineer, heading toward the command bridge where stars waited and consequences brewed. Leon stood at the helm of the Taraxis, fingers hovering over a control array that pulsed like a sleeping heartbeat. The stars outside flickered, not like they twinkled from distance, but like they were blinking back at him with various levels of judgment. He didn't blame them. If someone had told him a week ago he'd be flying an alien warship with a mildly sarcastic AI and a telepathic ex-vampire guardian with ears that could pick up radio frequencies, he would have suggested they ease off the space wine. "Taraxis," he said, cracking his knuckles. "Run pre-flight, sync weapons, shields, attitude thrusters, and whatever we need for dramatic exit." "Confirmed," the ship replied. "Also prepping triumphant departure playlist. Genre preference?" "Something with confidence and a hint of, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm pretending really well. Matching to Synthwave Heroics, level 3. Zeyhara entered from the upper deck, her armor now shimmering with stabilized phase energy, the twin blades on her back holstered but never at rest. She gave Leon a glance that was equal parts admiration and concern, which, considering her usual emotional bandwidth, was basically a marriage proposal. "You're about to pull a ship older than recorded Earth history out of a moon with a liquefying core," she said. "This is where most mortals would have a crisis." "I had mine during breakfast," Leon replied. "I tried to make toast and set off the ship's atmospheric alarms. You tried to toast metal nutrient rations. I stand by my creative process," Taraxis cut in. "Launch readiness at 94%, planetary destabilization at critical, surface breaches increasing. Also, Leon, your heart rate is elevated." "Yeah, well, I'm either about to die or become a legend. Either way, that calls for a bit of cardio." Captain Buzzkill floated overhead. "Permission to activate motivational speech protocol?" "Denied," Leon said. "Last time you did that, I blacked out from secondhand embarrassment." The ship rumbled. Beneath them, the core chamber sent up a final energy pulse. The restraints holding Taraxis to the crust released with the sound of ancient tectonic regret. The ship lifted slowly, climbing out of the moon's subsurface like a beast remembering it had wings. "Gravity wells collapsing behind us," Taraxis said. "Launch path is unstable. External field interference detected." Leon gripped the helm. "We're punching out anyway." She stepped beside him. Routes plotted, coordinates locked, brace for gravitic inversion. Leon blinked. "Is that the thing where space folds like an origami swan and then tries to eat itself?" "Yes. Cool. Doing it anyway." The Taraxis roared into motion. Energy shields flared as they breached the last layer of Virellia's crumbling surface. The view behind them was apocalyptic, shards of rock and light pulling into themselves like a closing wound. But they weren't alone. 3 shadow drifters emerged from the collapsing crust, drifting behind them like death's interns. Their forms less stable, but still determined. "They're tethering to our energy wake," Zeyhara said. "They'll phase aboard again." Leon cursed. "Can't we, I don't know, open a window and throw a reality bomb at them?" "I've got something better," Zeyhara replied. She moved to the tactical station. Taraxis, activate the spiral. The ship hesitated. Warning, the spiral is a non-linear containment maneuver designed for pilots with at least 6 cognitive partitions. Initiating may cause nausea, confusion, or sudden existential improvement. Leon looked at Zeyhara. How do you even know about the spiral? I trained on this ship before the war ended, back when the galaxy still believed in heroes. Leon nodded. Well, I once beat a vending machine by yelling at it. Let's do this. Taraxis shuddered, and then reality twisted. The spiral unfolded like a cosmic kaleidoscope. The ship spun on multiple axes simultaneously, not in circles but in ideas of circles. Space peeled sideways. The drifters screamed in frequencies not meant for ears and scattered, unable to hold their forms inside a physics engine, having a nervous breakdown. When it ended, the stars realigned, and silence returned. Captain Buzzkill beeped. I believe I have seen God. She's made of triangles. Leon slumped into the pilot's seat. We're alive? We are, Zeyhara said. Taraxis pulsed gently. Final trajectory plotted. Destination, free orbit. Virellia is lost. The ship is yours. For a moment, there was nothing but breath, starlight, and the hum of triumph. Leon stood and turned to Zeyhara. So, what now? Do we become galactic peacekeepers? Wander the stars? Open a taco bar in deep space? She regarded him. You've changed. I took a crash course in destiny and didn't explode. I think that earns me a certificate. You're no longer running from anything, he smiled soft. No, now I'm running towards something. Zeyhara took a step closer. I spent centuries believing this ship was my burden. Then you showed up with broken tech, bad jokes, and the emotional range of a malfunctioning vending unit. You're welcome. And now I think maybe this ship was waiting for you. Captain Buzzkill projected heart emojis. Relationship status, it's complicated but functional. Leon reached for Zeyhara's hand. She didn't stop him this time, her fingers laced with his, warm, strong, steady. Together, they looked out at the endless stars. Behind them, a moon had died. Before them, possibilities bloomed. Taraxis asked, Destination? Surprise us! The ship leapt forward, cutting through space with purpose. The stars made room.